Here's a question that a lot of fans of MLP have. Is redemption repetitive? Is it becoming too repetitive as far as the show is concerned? Some fans, like Lily Peet, Firebrand, ToonKrytic, Silver Quill, Lighting Bliss, Aeon, you name it, Eliora, they all might be in agreement of saying, yes, it is repetitive. And that all we get most times when this happens is the same story we got over and over and over again. The only difference is you have a different character, the only difference is you have a different character and somewhat of a different backstory as to why they become what they've become inserted, and that's it. However, even though redemptions can be repetitive, it doesn't mean they become boring. Sometimes the backstory that comes along with the villain or the antagonist that's going to be redeemed is actually pretty intriguing. When you take a look at Tempest's backstory, you realize that she has somewhat of a reasoning. She encountered basically that fictional bear creature, whatever it was that got mentioned in a season or so of Friendship is Magic. She encounters it, and as a result, she ends up losing a horn. And the only reason she felt discarded is because her friends were afraid. They were scared. I mean, yeah, let's be honest. Her friends may have felt sympathetic for what happened, but what scared them away was the fact that she had unstable magic. Her magic was now unstable. So if anything, that would make you want to avoid someone. Now, some people like Lily will say, well, why wouldn't they just go get her some help? Say, oh, look, our friend's horn's broken, help her. Maybe because you got to realize that at being young fillies at that time, they probably were too scared to do anything. And as a young filly, Tempest probably didn't understand that her friends didn't mean to run off the way they did. But the fact is they were scared, and she interpreted that as no pony wanting to be her friend. And you could, in a sense, say that's understandable. Maybe she read things the wrong way, and that's what led her down the path she did. Because maybe she felt nobody would be the same way to her. But here's the thing, though. What makes Tempest's story believable is as she grows up on her own, isolated maybe, or doing her own thing, surviving on her own, she is desperate. As she grows up, her main mission is to get her horn back. It's not just, oh, I'm not going to trust anybody because they're not going to trust me. It's more along the lines of her main goal, is to get her horn back, and she will do whatever it takes, even align herself with whoever she has to get it accomplished. And why? Because she wants to be herself again. She wants to feel whole again. And that deep down, maybe she feels that she's whole again, that maybe other ponies will be able to accept her again. Maybe the friends that she had as a filly, now grown up, will see her and be like, oh, you're back to normal. Let's be friends again. So, there are reasonings as to why, Tempest did what she did. True, is it because she doesn't want to trust anybody at first? Because she believes no one will accept her for who she is? Is it because of the broken horn? Yeah, she has a legitimate argument to that. But here's the thing. Again, I know fans feel the redemption story has been done over and over again and it needs to stop. But here's the thing about Tempest's redemption. It shows that no matter who you are, no matter what disability you have or disadvantage you may have, there's always going to be someone out there that's willing to be your friend and accept you for who you are. And that was the message of Tempest's redemption, was the fact that yes, she had a broken horn. Yes, she felt her friends turning their back on her made her realize that maybe nobody wants to be friends with her, and that became her mission in life, not to trust anybody, and that the only thing she really wants to achieve and that the only real goal she wants is to redeem her horn, and she'll do anything and align herself with anybody to make it happen. It doesn't mean she's going to be friends with someone. It just means she's going to do whatever it takes to get her horn back, because she basically believes she can't trust anybody. Now you might say, well, she trusted the Storm King to try to get her horn back. It's because she was desperate. She probably, I mean, if you look at the comic prequel, it basically serves as a foundation as to why she's aligned with the Storm King. Storm King basically sees that she's desperate to get her horn back, or hears and sees that she's desperate to do it, sees the potential magic she has that he can use to achieve his goal, so he basically says, okay, I'll help you get your horn back. I'll have the magic to do so. And what happens is it blinds her to the truth that all that's really happening is she's being used. She doesn't see the truth of that, because she's desperate to get her horn back and she's willing to do whatever it takes. But again, when it comes to her redemption at the end, it's more along the lines when Twilight saves her from basically being taken into the storm, or that the Storm King activates. Not only does she wonder why Twilight's doing this, Twilight explains to her, this is what friends do. She's basically telling Tempest that friends will help each other out no matter what the circumstances, and no matter what disabilities or disadvantages or how they look. For someone like me, that comes from a personal standpoint. You see, I was born with a disability, a Hirschsprung's disease, that nearly took my life back when I was a baby. Long story short, that was a disability that haunted me in my childhood. It's a disability to where several times I had to get certain medications to help it out. I had to drink Metamucil, I had to drink certain kinds of milks at times, stuff like that. I had a Hirschsprung's disease to where, as a kid, I had to have a colostomy bag put on, attached to my body. And growing up, you know, did I have friends? Yes, but not many. But as I got older and everybody else started to see what my story was about, or started to hear what my disability was about, I did gain friends. I did get as many friends. I did get friends, not as many, but I got friends that pretty much, they looked at my disability and they're like, you know what, that doesn't matter what happened to you in the past. You know, it doesn't matter if you have this problem. We are going to be your friends no matter what. I went to Oskaloosa High School, and immediately I had a lot of friends. A lot of people helped me out. They accepted me for who I am. They saw that mentally I was not, you know, they saw that mentally I wasn't ready to be out there because I was not with my family. The only family I had was my dad. I didn't have my mom. I didn't have my sisters. But the point is, they willingly helped accept me for who I was. They helped me out. And I've been friends with them since then. Because of the fact that they accepted me for who I am and what I am. They didn't turn their backs on me. Heck, I have friends at work that are the same way. They know that something might be a little off about me. But the truth is, they accept me for who I am. They are friends with me for who I am. They don't judge me because I like a little girl's show that mostly a lot of adults like now. They don't judge me because I'm a little weird at times. They accept me for who I am. And when I look at Tempest's redemption in My Little Pony My Little Pony movie, it's basically the same message. The message being sent there when Twilight saves her is, it doesn't matter if you have a broken horn or not. I'm willing to be your friend. I am willing to forgive you for what you have done, and I am willing to be your friend despite you having a broken horn or not, or despite the fact that despite the fact that your real name is Fizzy Pop Berrytris, named after a soft drink or whatever. You know, she's willing to accept her. The main six is willing to accept her. That's the message I got with the redemption. That's the message I got. And even when you go as far as with someone like Starlight, you might say, well, Starlight tried to ruin and destroy the entire universe. She even said that in Shadowplay. Yeah, she did. But here's the point. Here's the point. Despite what she did, and despite her reasoning for why she did it, Twilight and the others forgave her. Yeah, she was willing to accept any punishment they were going to give her. She was willing being sent to Tartarus if she had to be. She was willing to be put into limbo if that was the case. No, they accepted her. They said her punishment was they said there was not going to be a punishment. The only thing that was going to happen was she was going to take her under her wing as a student and help her not only learn the positives of friendship, the magic of friendship, but also help her redeem herself. She was willing to forgive her and for what she had done despite it being near disastrous, and she was willing to accept Starlight for who she was. That's what she was willing to do. Same with Sunset Shimmer and Equestria Girls. Sunset Shimmer felt isolated because maybe she felt Celestia turned her back on her, or she became impatient or whatever. But at the end of it, she was redeemed. She was given a second chance. Heck, they did a whole movie in Rainbow Rocks dedicated to her redemption, and the fact that not only was the main six showing that, hey, we're willing to trust her, we're willing to give her a second chance, or the humane five plus main six Twilight. Not only were they coming out and saying, hey, we're willing to give her a chance, we're willing to accept her and forgive her for what she had done, so should you. They were able to base a whole story arc on that, which many fans felt is probably the better redemption stories the entire franchise has ever done. The point is, redemptions in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic and even Equestria Girls might become repetitive, but there's always a behind-the-scenes reasoning to it, a behind-the-message reasoning. And the message sometimes is to accept someone for who they are. It's to give them a chance at friendship no matter what they look like or who they are. One of the aspects of Rarity's character that I like and anybody else likes is not only her generosity, but she's willing to accept other ponies for what they are. Yes, in the first few seasons, did she fall victim to forgetting about that? Absolutely. But she redeemed herself when she realized that's what made her who she is. That's why she got the element of generosity. That's why she was given even that element. The fact that she was willing to be generous to all ponies and creatures, no matter what they looked like or who they were. And that's the same thing that when I look at Tempest's redemption in the movie, the behind the scenes message, the real message behind the redemption is no matter what they look like, no matter what their disability is, you accept is the message is no matter what their disability may be or what their disadvantage they may be, you are willing to accept them for who they are. You're willing to give them willing to be their friend no matter what. That's why that's why Twilight saved her. Because she was willing to give her a chance. She was willing to be her friend despite everything she had done. And the reason being, yes, Tempest gave her backstory. She explained her reasoning. But it was that reasoning that Twilight was willing to say, look, I'm going to be your friend. I want to be your friend because no matter what the situation is, I see now. I understand your reasoning. I get it. I'm willing to look beyond that and be your friend and help you out. Again, the same thing with Starlight, despite whether you like Starlight or you don't. Twilight was willing to take her under her wing as her student and apprentice, and as well as be her friend, because she was willing to look beyond what she had done and forgive her. She was willing to forgive her for it. She and the main six were willing to forgive her for what she did, but she was also able to look beyond that and say, look, I'm going to look beyond what you did. I'm going to forgive you for what you did, and I'm going to help you have a chance at being the pony you should have been. I'm willing to give you a chance at friendship. And that's what she does. You know, even Discord, despite the fact being antagonist still at times, is in that same category. Fluttershy, the pony he's very close with, is willing to look past his antagonistic ways at times and see the good. She's willing to look past his chaotic, mischiefy ways and be like, okay, I'm willing to be friends with you. I'm willing to be this with you. You know, she's willing to do that. The point is, we have to remember that the subtitle of the show is Friendship is Magic. It's not just My Little Pony, it's My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And that Friendship is Magic theme still gets carried over to Equestria Girls, whether we like Equestria Girls or we don't. We got to remember that. Yes, our redemptions, are some of the redemptions repetitive? Absolutely. No doubt about that. But again, we have to remember what the theme is. But let's give credit where credit is due. Yes, the redemptions are repetitive, but there are antagonists. The show producers at DHX Media have shown that there have been antagonists that are unredeemable. ToonKrytic is one of them. King Sombra, except for the comics, but if you don't count the comics, except for maybe the comics continuation of it, but if you don't count that, King Sombra. The Pony of Shadows, with the Pony of Shadows, with the exception of, well, let me put it this way, the Pony of Shadows, excluding Stygian, the Pony of Shadows without Stygian, the Nightmare Magic without Luna, or in the comics case, Rarity. There have been many, and possibly Chrysalis, but we'll get into that in a moment. There have been many characters, antagonists, villains and even the Storm King in the movie, there are antagonists and villains that are unredeemable. And that's a fact. So we got to give the show credit. They do have a fair share of unredeemable antagonists, or maybe rivals. We got to look at that. We really do. And as far as Chrysalis goes, and as far as Chrysalis, characters like Chrysalis goes, Lightning Dust, you name it, yes, they're antagonistic right now. Yes, they are enemies to the main six, and maybe rivals to certain members of the main six, or seven if you count Starlight. Yes, they are. But there's always a chance, and this is what fans are scared of, there's always a chance that characters like Lightning Dust and Chrysalis are going to get redeemed within the next season or the season after. And they don't want to see that because despite what some writers may say by saying, oh, Chrysalis is basically unredeemable, they know for a fact that's not entirely true, or they feel for a fact that's not entirely true, so her becoming redeemed is what they're scared of. Probably the most unredeemable and potentially probably one of the best antagonistic villains in the show, they're scared, they fear is going to get redeemed within the next season, and it doesn't need to be that way. The same with Lightning Dust. Lightning Dust is probably more of the exception, because just like with Gilda, she was friends, childhood friends, or Philly friends with Rainbow Dash, so it only makes sense that she would probably be the next to be redeemed onto the side of good. But again, even if that's the case, fans don't want to see the same repetitive story with her. You know, some fans felt that Gilda was probably one of the best exceptions in the first season, but then we get about a couple of seasons in, we bring her back, and what happens? She gets redeemed. The point of the fact of the matter is this. Can shows be repetitive when it comes to certain themes? Absolutely. Can those certain themes that become repetitive be overbearing and make the show unwatchable or boring? Absolutely. But if the theme is repeated, but done in a way that the fans can actually say, yeah, this is being repeated. Yeah, we're getting the same kind of story, but or the same kind of theme, but it's a lot more different. It's a lot more intriguing. Maybe this is a better example of it being done right. And that is a true case, especially when it comes to something like Friendship is Magic. Yes, the redemption story arc can be repetitive. But if it's done in a way that makes things intriguing and interesting, it makes you be like, okay, we've seen this same song and dance before, but you know what? It's being done in a way that makes it more intriguing and interesting, maybe makes it the exception and all that, then fine. I think it's worth it. Yes, can they take a break from redemptions? Absolutely. They definitely should. They definitely should take a break once in a while. But even if that's the case, and you take a break from it, it's always going to come back once in a while. It's going to come back every now and then. The point is, if the redemption arc is brought back in Season 8, which a lot of fans fear it will be, especially for Crystallis's redemption may be probably one of the only exceptions where it's done correctly, to where you have built to this point, to now Crystallis has got to choose who's either to stay evil or be redeemed. And there's going to be a situation possibly in the finale where that occurs. Again, I agree with Lily Peet, Firebrand, Josh Scorcher, Silver Quill, ToonKrytic, Lighting Bliss, Eliora. I agree with all of them when they pretty much say it's being repetitive and it needs to stop. I agree with that. But I also want them to realize that sometimes there is a message behind those redemptions. And sometimes those messages can make the redemption worthwhile, whether you like it or you don't. And in my case, when I look at Tempest's, it basically, in a way, kind of reminds me, it kind of speaks to me in a sense because of her disability of her broken horn. And the fact that you have Twilight in the main six willing to forgive her and be her friend despite her disability, it to me is a personal message for myself because of the fact of what I've gone through my life, especially as a child, growing up, and how my friends accepted me for who I was despite my indifferences, if you know what I mean. So, again, redemption repetitive in MLP-FIM? Absolutely. But if done right, I think it becomes very intriguing and interesting, and it delivers a good message overall when you look at it if you look at it from that standpoint of the message it's sending. And not just look at the message of, oh, well, you almost destroyed the universe, but your punishment is, we'll be friends with you. You're our friend. Da, 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 da. No, you got to look at the true message. And I think that is what matters. But yeah, is it redemption repetitive? Yes. Do they need to take a break at times? Yes. But let's not forget, sometimes the redemption message is the message behind the redemption is what you really have to look at before you judge whether or not it's just the same old song and dance, but with different characters and origin stories. But that's all I'm going to say on it, folks. Let me know what you think down below. I'll talk to y'all later.